This is the Texas A&M Signing Day Show, brought to you by Opportune. We bring energy to business. And Mustang CAT, building Texas, powering the world. Welcome. We are so glad you have joined us in the south end zone of Kyle Field inside 12th Man Studios. I'm Will Johnson with the former QB for the Aggies and the Cowboys, Stephen McGee. And we are here for the next half hour to get you set on all that is Texas A&M football. We'll look back at the 2020 season. We'll talk about the 2021 signing class, and we'll look ahead to the next campaign that starts here at Kyle September 4th. Jimbo Fisher joins us later in the show. But, Stephen, let's talk about where we last saw this Texas A&M football program. That was on January 2nd in Miami, a thriller in the Orange Bowl to beat the North Carolina Tar Heels. Hard to forget that night. We'll remember that for quite some time.
Absolutely. It was a great way to end a really special season for Coach Fisher, 9-1 campaign, and I think really springboards this program and solidifies all the hype and everything we've heard about how Jimbo builds a program. We've now seen it in year 3 under his leadership, and boy, did it ever look good as an Aggie fan.
Yeah, Devon A-chain run, that won't be forgotten anytime soon. The 76-yarder to break the tie late in the fourth quarter. The Aggies beat the Tar Heels 41-27. So let's talk momentum. How long does what happened in 2020, the 9-1 season, the number 4 national ranking, the Orange Bowl victory, how long does that push this A&M program as they start to prep truly for 2021?
I think that the whole offseason now starts anew. You got to put last year behind you. It won't win you a single game next year. It's all about what you're doing today. It's a show me game, like they used to say, and that preparation is now. You got to live in the present. What you did last year certainly is going to have no effect on this football team being able to win a game next year, except for some of the learning experiences that you had. A lot of young guys, a lot of guys returning, and so that's going to certainly help. But a great experience, but it won't win you any football games next year.
Well, as you mentioned, a lot of guys returning, but there are some gone. Quarterback Kellen Mond, he departs for the NFL, recently named the MVP of the Senior Bowl competition to replace him.
Well, it speaks volumes about how instrumental he's been in this turnaround under Jimbo Fisher, 4-year starter, one of the most prolific players at any skill position at A&M ever, which is pretty incredible. Won a bunch of football games and did a fantastic job. It's going to be almost impossible to replace a guy like that in 1 year. You just got to hope that the whole team can absorb some of that role that he did last year. So Kellen Mond was an incredible quarterback for this program.
Got to replace 4 starters on a really good offensive line, too.
Exactly right. That's going to be some really big shoes to fill. Offensive line play last year was as good probably ever that we've seen. Complete performance.
Yeah, the Joe Moore Award is given to the best offensive line in the entire country. Texas A&M's unit was a finalist for that, along with Alabama and Notre Dame, 2 playoff teams. But the Aggies, Kellen Mond gone, the offensive line got to replace 4 starters. These will be topics for Jimbo Fisher later in the show. But when we come back, we start to take a closer look at the 2021 signees for the Texas A&M football program. We return to the south end zone of Kyle Field in a moment. The Texas A&M Signing Day Show, brought to you by Opportune. We bring energy to business. And Mustang CAT, building Texas, powering the world. We welcome you back to the south end zone of Kyle Field. Will and Stephen with you. Texas A&M, the 2021 signing class is complete off the heels of that terrific 2020 season, the 9-1 campaign. For Jimbo Fisher, it's going to be the 3rd straight top 10 class that he signs here at A&M, and there's no way you're going to let me get away with not starting with the quarterback. Eli Stowers from Denton, Texas. He joins a good group that's here, Haynes King, Zach Calzada, but Eli Stowers in this signing class, the latest to the mix at QB.
Eli Stowers, everyone just raves about him. The biggest thing I always look for is this guy's a winner. He knows how to go out and consistently win football games. It's something that most people don't take into account. I love that he can make all the throws on the field. You see him make the comeback. You see him make the big post. You see him make the 17, 18-yard dig throw. This guy can do it all, quick release. He's very athletic. You love to see these guys be able to extend plays outside the pocket, use their legs to make the offensive line right at times, do the RPO, zone read, be a willing runner. And then just the production. I mean, this guy consistently put up big numbers. I think you get the complete player at the quarterback position with Eli Stowers.
An early enrollee. I know you like that because you did it.
Absolutely, and especially in this offense with Jimbo Fisher. It's not an easy system to learn, and you got to get here early and get as much time as you can to absorb all of this offensive system.
Tell you who can win football games is North Shore High School down there in Houston, and the Aggies got a wide receiver from that program that everyone's excited about in Shadrach Banks.
It's a huge get. A lot of schools wanted Mr. Banks. And like you said, Will, this guy also knows how to win. He's about a program that just consistently finds a way to win every year. And that speaks volume. You want to have guys in your program that know what it takes to win and win consistently. Big physical wide receiver, again, production. You love to see guys that get it done, that aren't just built on skill, but they have the production to back that skill. And Shadrach is certainly one of those guys that you hope can be a factor at that X wide receiver spot.
Sticking with the skills and the potential for explosiveness, Jimbo Fisher is going to get a lot of his guys from Texas. There's no doubt about that. But he can get out of state. He can go to the South. He can go to the Northeast. Well, how about from Miami Central down in Florida? He gets a duo in Amari Daniels and Yul Keith Brown.
It's an incredible get here. It's another high school that's legendary graduates from their high school, Dalvin Cook, Devontae Freeman, to name a few. But love to watch Yul Keith Brown. This guy has the speed. He reminds me a lot of Anais Smith. He can line up anywhere, slot wide receiver, punt returns, kick returns, put him in the backfield. He's going to find a way to make plays and get open. And he's got that separation ability that I think is so critical that you can't coach. You got to go out and recruit speed, and he definitely fills that need. And, of course, Amari Daniels at running back, a huge get. You got to have enough running backs in the stable, as we know, because those guys take a lot of hits throughout the year.
So Texas A&M got the bulk of this 2021 class actually in December of 2020. That's the way recruiting works now. But in February of 2021, they completed it with L.J. Johnson, running back out of Cypress, Texas, where he went to Cy-Fair High School. Speaking of electricity, he can create it in a moment. And then Jordan Moko is an offensive lineman, well over 300 pounds, out of Snow College in Utah. Originally, he hails from Australia. That's how the A&M Aggies rounded out the 2021 class in February. When we come back, Jimbo Fisher joins us on set to tell you more about the 2021 signees and look forward to the 2021 season in a moment. The Texas A&M Signing Day Show, brought to you by Opportune. We bring energy to business. And Mustang CAT, building Texas, powering the world. Earlier, we discussed a little bit of the Orange Bowl. After that victory on January 2nd in Miami, Jimbo Fisher is 3-0 in bowl games as the head man of the Texas A&M Aggies, winning the Gator, Texas, and now, as you know, the Orange. The head coach joins us right now, and we're just going to jump right into it, Coach, because we kind of discussed the skill position players earlier. Steven makes us do that. Let's get into the trenches here with this 2021 signing classes and defensively. Up front, you already got a stacked group on the roster, but you get more in guys like Tunmiche Adelaide, Shamar Turner, and a whole host of them joining you defensively.
Elijah Judy, all those guys. And what I like about all of them, they all have size. Zion Harris, they all are multi-positional players. They're big guys who can play on the edge, which is very rare. They can play the zone read, but you can play the run. Those tight ends have a hard time running the football, doing things, but it can be mixed inside to be three techniques, two eyes on pass rush downs, and you can put your speed, your rush guys in the game, and those guys can go inside, outside, and they're big and strong enough. And I think, I hate to say it, sports is becoming like that to a point on defensive. Even like back, there's no positions. You have a position, but the more multitude of things and places you can play, your value goes up because it's such a situational game now. And teams, you play teams that run heavy, and all of a sudden, next one they're in a run and shoot, they're in the spread running it, and you have more lighter guys. Well, I like to have those guys. Let's move them in and be tackles, and then put the light guys. The versatility of these guys with their power and athleticism is what really excites me.
Coach, flipping sides of the ball, another great offensive line haul for you guys. Bryce Foster, name everybody in Aggie Nation wants to talk about that group you got.
I'm gonna tell you what now. I mean, Deuce on the edge, the big tackle. I mean, Ruben Fothering. I say Deuce. I'm so used to that all the time. Listen, that kid's 6'7", 6'8", 305 pounds, and can move his feet and strong. He was the area basketball player of the year. He's had Division I basketball offers. Remington inside. I mean, at center at 295, athletic. And Zune and Wyckoff, I mean, big, they can play, all those guys can play center, guard, and tackle. And you don't see that very often. Length, and actually, when you look at them, very athletically cut guys. I mean, not typical lineman type bodies. Really excited about that group. I mean, hit everything we want and the guys we want. I think there's a lot of not only great college football players in there, I think there's a lot of NFL football players in there.
Defensive backs, Coach, 5 of them in the 2021 class.
Well, I mean, that's the game. I mean, and here's the thing. Play safety, play nickel, play corner. It's a matchup game. Just like you say, in basketball, you got 5 guys. Well, when that 7-footer goes and shoots threes and pulls that big guy out, who can go guard him? You know what I'm saying? So I think the multitude and the different body types, the athleticism, the length, I mean, like Chappelle, Deuce Harmon, and the whole run of those guys at corner. Man, guys can play corner, can play nickel, can go inside, outside, play dime, play back there. I mean, guys that have a lot of versatility. Then the length, Gilbert, in the secondary, corner, safety, nickel, hit you, athlete, really offense. And Daniels on the other side, he's 6'4". You go watch his basketball film, you watch his football, can burst, can run, and has the athleticism to play corner and do the things he does. And Greg Norwood played quarterback his whole life. All these guys played multiple positions, were offensive players, defensive players, and I've always found this out. To me, and I know this sounds crazy, the greatest defensive players I've ever been around in my life are really offensive guys that play defense. Yeah. Because the balanced body control, and more importantly, the ball skills, the ball judgments, the used to catching the ball, understanding what's going on that side of the ball. All these guys were great offensive players, all of them. Played on the offensive side of the ball and had really good balls and could go play receiver, running back, whatever you want them to play, but play on the secondary side. They all have length, very great burst, size, and tremendous ball skills.
Coach, talk about recruiting in the COVID environment. How difficult is it to go out and sign a kid from across the country that's not familiar with Texas A&M culture, and have to do that without them ever stepping foot on campus?
Well, obviously not that tough. We did. That is amazing. The first time some of these guys walked on campus was when they came. It's almost like the old way of doing it. Yeah. Back in the day, because you didn't get the visits, but I'm talking about way back, not to your time, don't my time. Way back. But it was amazing. But that is what technology can do. There's 2 things I think in that stand out from that. What technology can really show you and how detailed. And everyone said all of our Zoom visits were as detailed or better than anyone they've ever seen. That they saw during that year, which is a tribute to Marshall and our recruiting staff, our coaching staff, our support staff, everybody involved in what happens. And 2, to me, how our coaches, how they built the relationships and the hard work they did and for people to trust us and what we did, not just from what you saw it, but them spending the time, building the relationships, doing the things they did. Our recruiting staff did a tremendous job, but it is amazing. Zoom can provide a lot of information. It really can. It's kind of opened our eyes that we have to use that no matter you're still going out, but we have to really grow in that regard, in my opinion, especially early jumps, even when you have sophomores and those other guys, getting those guys to be able to do those things. And because, it's like anything you see in life. All right, I want it. I think what I know, but when I see it, it's almost I can, it just triggers. I either like it, I don't like it, or whatever it is. And but our coaches and the support staff did a tremendous job of getting them to do that.
All right, Jimbo Fisher is with us. We look ahead with this Texas A&M program when we come back. The Texas A&M Signing Day Show, brought to you by Opportune. We bring energy to business. And Mustang CAT, building Texas, powering the world. We return with Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher, and we start looking forward to 2021, a season that starts on September 4th here at Kyle Field. But as you like to point out, long way until September 4th. But how nice is it going to be to get spring ball back, considering that you didn't really get to convene for those sessions last year?
It is. It's huge, and the teaching and the fundamentals. And giving guys growth time and you're learning to play a position where you don't have a game the next week. So as a coach, you can really slow it down. If things aren't where you want them, hey, let's back it up. Let's get the fundamentals. Let's get the foundations of things we do. And I'm gonna tell you what, I miss the competition. I love seeing the guys compete in that spring and do things. But the growth for those young players, the older guys improving and going, but those young players bringing that youth along and getting them experience and really breaking them down and spending time with them, and it's huge. I love spring ball.
Talk about competition, Coach, and certainly probably spring practice no more beneficial than for the quarterback group, and several young guys now competing for that spot. Talk about that group and what you like to see out of the guy that ultimately emerges.
Well, first of all, the guys can emerge. It has to be, how do the guys respond to him? You know what I mean? We talk about all the qualities you got to have and all this competitiveness and all that. Listen, quarterback at the end of the day, you got to have you competitive and all that. But to me, it gets decision making and accuracy. Can he process information, getting into all the right things, know where to go with the ball, whatever run it is, whatever, and can he hit what the heck he throws at the end of the day? Now, he's got to be unbelievably competitive. He has to. People say, does he have great leadership? Well, can he make the guys around him better? Do they want to follow him? Do they see? And I'm gonna tell you what, people follow smart people and tough people. When you're smart and you're competitive and you're willing to lay it on the line and you ain't making mistakes and you're mentally into things and you're so competitive, those are great traits. You got to have quick hands, you got to have great feet, you got to have hips and all that. Those are things we can teach. But those other characteristics, they don't go away because it's the competitiveness and the physicality of the game.
Speaking of offense, the offensive line, 5 guys that we talked about earlier that signed. How difficult, though, is it for those guys to transition not only physically but mentally as offensive linemen trying to learn the system?
The other part, and the communication skills, and being able to get 5 in there and understand the calls and be able to do it all the time. It's here. Well, okay, here comes the safety, so I got to adjust. I got to bump a guy. I got to bump the mic call guy. It is. People have no idea how tough the mental strain on an offensive lineman is. I mean, they're talking about we can't block. Well, you don't know you can't use your technique and block until you know who to block. And then the changes and the movements. All right, he's backing up, so it's probably going to be a TE stunt or an ET stunt. So, I mean, there's a lot of things. So we'll keep it very basic in the beginning, make them learn to do those things. Then we'll gradually build the twists and the blitzes and the stunts in, and it's critical. We have really good players. I mean, I think we got some really good linemen. It's going to matter how quick and how they adjust and more importantly, the communications that come out from center out. And how those things are passed on and how they can get on the same page.
All right, real quick before you go, a lot back on defense, even though Bobby Brown and Buddy Johnson move on.
Those 2 guys are outstanding players for us, made differences in the game and all the time. But the linebacker crew, very young, very athletic group. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got a lot of guys running and jumping in the mid-30s, high 30s, and athletically and running and making plays. Very happy there, but then a lot of experience up front. You don't always lose that, but there's a lot. And Peavy coming back was huge. Him and Michael Clemens coming back up front. Those 2 guys being able to get back in there with those other young talented guys and let you see. And that's the thing, lets that rotation go, and then you keep guys fresh. And it's not just fresh in that game; it's fresh in the back end of the year. Mm-hmm. You got to get that guy. And I always say they remember November, and then December is what matters, and January is where it's won. But at the same time, when you can keep that same rotation through there, and you can keep those bodies, the wear and tear it has, and I think that depth there is really going to pay off with a bunch of really good players and experienced players.
Appreciate the time. See you out at spring ball.
Great to be there. Thank you, guys.
Jimbo Fisher right here on set. When we come back, we wrap things up. We're almost ready to close things out. Texas A&M football getting ready for spring practices. They'll take that into the off season during the summer, reconvene for August camp, and then the 2021 season kicks off on September 4th here at Kyle Field against the Kent State Golden Flashes from the MAC. And then we're taking a look at the schedule here before we go. You get an interesting road game that's actually been moved to Denver, Colorado against the CU Buffaloes game at the home stadium of the Denver Broncos. But, Stephen, I think a lot of folks are going to circle October 9th, Kyle Field, Texas A&M and Alabama in the SEC West.
Well, absolutely. Until you beat them, they're going to be the game circled on the A&M schedule, and certainly a team that I know that looking forward is going to be circled in that locker room as well. I think a lot of these guys want another shot at Alabama. You get some time to build up and figure out a young offensive line, who's going to be the next quarterback. So fortunately, there's some games in between before you line up against Bama to figure out exactly and get a rhythm of who you are offensively.
2 interesting road games to close it out in the SEC West. November 13th at Ole Miss, November 27th at LSU in Baton Rouge. We have run out of time here from the south end zone of Kyle Field. Thanks for the time today, Stephen.
Awesome. Another great year.
Yes, sir. Spring ball on the horizon. Home opener, September 4th at Kyle Field.